Recognize the following members of the delegation accompanying the Director General for this briefing today. Mrs. Grace Okani, Director, RC. Emmanuel Achoda, Head Internal Audit. Philomena Okore, Head Corporate Service. Aliyu Umar Aliyu, Head Strategic Communications. Abba Abdurrahim, TA to the DG. And every other team member, you're well recognized. We especially acknowledge the presence of every other member from BPSR yet to arrive, on those who have also arrived now. And on behalf of the Presidential Communications team, I welcome you to the 43rd session of the State House briefing organized by the Presidential Communications team. In line with the current efforts by President Muhammad Buhari-led administration to reform the public service of Nigeria, the State House briefing for today, Thursday, 23rd June 2022, would focus on key updates and strides being made by the Bureau of Public Service Reforms in the execution of its core mandate of initiating, coordinating, and ensuring the full implementation of reform policies and programs in the government. The Director General's presentation would last for about 20 minutes, after which we will take questions from the press solely on the presentation he has made and also issues pertaining to the Bureau. Having established the protocol and also introductions completed, it is my honor to invite the Director General to the podium to make his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My senior sister in the diaspora that I never met until today, but with the help of the media, we've been cross-cutting and exchanging ideas. The presidential media team, members of the press, my colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are here to dissect the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, to give the historical background of the agency and some of the programs and projects we've handled from inception, but with a specific reference to 2015 to date. On the next slide, the Bureau of Public Service Reforms was set up in 2004 to serve as engine room for reforms at the federal level. There have been a lot of reforms before 2004, but most of those reforms were looking at one or two issues of governance or public service delivery. Bureau of Public Service Reforms was supposed to be a center that looked at the whole of government, and that is what we call in political science, whole of government approach to public service reforms. On the next slide. Our mandate is to make sure that we initiate, we coordinate, we monitor, and report reforms either set up by us or other agencies of government. For our information, the Bureau of Public Service Reforms is stated under the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. We have a council that we call National Council of Reforms that is chaired by the President and Commander-in-Chief. All members of the Federal Executive Council are members. Steering Committee is chaired by the SGF, and heads of agencies and the head of service are all members of that committee. Now, in all the work that we are doing, we work in collaboration with all agencies of government. So you'll be hearing in the course of our presentation, there are some things that we have initiated, and there are some reform initiatives that have been initiated by other agencies of government. There is no building that will stand the test of time like this hall without a plan. Now, for us, we've been working around a document that we call the National Strategy on Public Service Reforms, which is the coordinating document for all the work that we have been doing. In the course of preparing the NSPSR, the President had approved an interministerial task team from within and outside the federal public service, from the private sector, development partners, civil society groups who have special interests in governance and what they think and feel government should do to the citizens of this country. Working with this team, we produced this document that has 4 pillars. Pillar 1 is looking at institutional and governance environment. How can we turn the position and the status of ministries, departments, and agencies of government to be world-class, to be among the best in the world? How can we make them corruption-friendly, free? How can we make them comfortable for our customers to come and transact with us? This pillar is driven by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, and we have other agencies of government that are members of that team. Pillar 2 is looking at enabling socio-economic environment, and we are very proud to say that this document formed the basis for the production of the ERGP program of government that ended last year and laid the foundation for the current national development program that government is driving. Pillar 3 is looking at public financial management driven by the Minister of Finance, and what we have set to achieve, I'm going to discuss this further, is to make sure that we have digitalized public financial management at the federal level. In the course of my discussion, I will show you what we have done and to celebrate the success we have achieved by transforming public financial management in Nigerian federal public service from paper to paperless. Pillar 4 is looking at civil service administration. It's driven by the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. Now, you cannot have an agency or a government that is not properly equipped with the best staff at hand to deliver government services, projects, and development of policies. So that is what Pillar 4 is looking at. Our vision, and the vision of this strategy, is for us to have a public service that is working, given the best that we can, and most importantly, to get Nigerian public service to be among the first 20 in the world by the year 2025. On the next slide. Now, this is the phase movement of reforms in Nigeria. From 2017, we started the reinvigorating stage to get all the MDA sensitized, ready for the transformation. We have passed that. We got to the transformation stage where some aspects of transformation are taking place, are being implemented. And the third phase is to get us to world class by the year 2025. It is of interest to me and to you to know that as I'm talking to you, some agencies of government in Nigeria have already reached that level of world class. There is never a month that will pass that we don't receive a delegation coming from outside Nigeria to come and study how Nigeria reform its tax system, how Nigeria is implementing Treasury Single Account, how Nigeria is implementing IPPIS and many. Now, we have picked agencies of government that have reached that stage, either Revenue Service, Security and Exchange Commission, Corporate Affairs Commission, and many others. So if we have those building blocks coming together closer, we are confident that by the year 2025, we'll be where we are supposed to be. Now, because of time, we'll go through this briefly. Every pillar has a developmental objective. Where do you want to be? Where are we? And it has a building blocks, that is the agencies of government that will work together and push Nigeria to that level, or the Nigerian public service to be where it should be. On the next slide. And we have what we call quick wins of reforms. In the course of our discussion, you will see that we have virtually achieved most of the quick wins that we have said we are going to achieve. On the next slide. Now, the same thing, development objective, building blocks of the pillars. On the next slide. Please go on. Go on. Go on. Go on. Now, what have we been doing in terms of reforms, either as Bureau of Public Service reforms or as federal government of Nigeria driving reforms? On the previous slide, please. You are faster than me. Good. Okay, yes, this is where we should be. Now, yes, in line with the aspirations of the NSPSR and the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, working with members of the Public Service Reform team, we have led the transformation of the tax system in Nigeria. Those of us that are within the orbit of tax 20 years ago will accept, sir, that we have really transformed tax system in Nigeria. From the comfort of your house, you can pay your tax, you can retrieve your tax clearance certificate, you can do your assessments. Without you going as a customer of Nigerian Public Service, you apply or you bid for a contract, you don't have to give us your tax clearance certificate. Online, we can check that. Immediately you put in your name, Ila Revenue Service will show whether you have any tax arrears or you have paid. Corporate Affairs Commission will show us whether you have registered or you have not registered. There is an integration of the system, especially around data collection for utilization of key agencies of government. We have reformed the budget system. We have also reformed public financial management, as I said. We created IPPIS, which has succeeded in reducing ghost workers within the public service. It has improved management of data and record of the public servants, and the government and anybody concerned can, at a pinch of a button, see how many people are on the payroll of federal government and how much is federal government paying them. We have succeeded in initiating GIFMIS, a Government Integrated Management Information System, where government is looking at all its expenditure in a pot. At the touch of a button, we can see who is spending what and where is this, or where are these monies going to. We have introduced the Treasury Single Account, which has succeeded in bringing together all revenues of government into one basket. And at the touch of a button too, those concerned authorized will be able to see how much we have gotten as revenue today. How much did we get yesterday? And who is benefiting from? Now, we have transited 100% in management of government funds and resources from paper to paperless. This is the most successful aspect of transformation of public service. In 2004, when we started talking about Treasury Single Account, I remember somebody said, Dr. Adegoro, you don't know what you are doing. How can you tell me that all the money going to government should go into one account? There will be trouble in this country. And the president came, President Muhammadu Buhari said, from today, all agencies must be on TSA. People cried, and complained. Today, all of us are here, and we're enjoying the benefit of that transformation. We have succeeded in reducing the number of ministries, restructuring the ministries, reducing the size of the departments and ministries. We have evolved and created what we call FOI portal. In compliance with the FOI law passed by federal government and our commitment to OGP, we have directed, based on the instruction of the president through the SGF, that all agencies of government must have FOI portal on their website to simplify requests for information on government activities by citizens. We have also conducted a lot of capacity development programs on FOI because of the importance the president or this government have attached to transparency, fighting corruption, and providing information on government activity. That was why when this invitation came, I said I will cut off all my activities to come here and talk to you. We have also developed a framework for gathering information on what we call monitoring and evaluation of reforms, either started by us or other agencies of government. One of the conditions of setting up the Bureau was for us to prepare civil servants, public servants to exit the service. One of those things that we initiated was or is pre-retirement training to get public servants trained before they exit the service, so that as they exit, they will have something else to be doing. Information is wealth, information is gold, information is money. So we have done quite a number of capacity development programs for information officers to see how we can help them to upskill and reskill and to be able to use the modern technology and means of communication to provide information to citizens. On the next slide. We do what we call institutional assessment of ministries, departments, and agencies of government. These are some of them that we have just picked. Universal basic education, why did we go there? There has been this urge for us to improve the quality of standard of our education. And government has been spending quite a lot of money to improve that through the universal basic education. We did a full assessment of this, and we're happy to tell you that our recommendations have been accepted by government, and a lot of transformation is taking place in UBIC. We have, looking at the complaint around police and the justice system, we did this assessment of the police complaint and rapid response unit. Bail is free. We know bail is free, but at a stage somebody say it's not free. So we did a study on that, and we have advised government on how to digitalize almost all the police formations that we have in this country. And we are glad to say that that has started. Police Service Commission is the employer of police. And we have, looking at the importance of police in providing security, we did institutional assessment of that and the National Human Rights Commission. Working with the European Union, we looked at the bottlenecks around getting information and accessing services by Nigerians on selected sectors or agencies of government. We looked at NIMC, Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, Nigeria Immigration Service, and Corporate Affairs Commission. The essence of that was to identify the bottlenecks and see how we can simplify the way they work. At the end of this work, on the next slide, at the end of this work, we have succeeded in getting Nigeria to have a national database, which is centered and situated in NIMC. What that has done is an ecosystem has been created around data generation and management in Nigeria, and a group of data utilizing agencies have been linked together so that if you are you're applying for passport now and you have your name, you don't have to go all through the stages. Once immigration links to NIMC, they will be able to get the information they are looking for. The same thing with Federal Inland Revenue Service. The same thing with Corporate Affairs Commission. What is important to us, and I think to all of you again, is what else after that? Data generation has been simplified. It has come into one port, and private sector have been given the opportunity and privilege to work around that, to generate business and to generate employment for the teeming unemployed youth that we have in this country. We have done what we call impact assessment and surveys. The essence of doing that is to have a feel and a touch from the public on whether they are aware of what government is doing and what they think we need to do better in terms of reforms and the policies that we are introducing. These are some among the few that we have done on freedom of information, administrative burden on TSA, status of pension reforms, presidential executive orders, anti-corruption, education reforms, IT, and tackling youth unemployment. At the end of all these studies that we do, reports are produced and policy briefs are produced which are sent to the Federal Executive Council for consideration. And they set the roadmap for government to address and tackle some of the problems that we have identified. Specifically, I want to say when we worked with the Economic Summit Group and development partners on youth unemployment, one of the recommendations was for government to create massive jobs. And that was where the idea of 750,000 jobs created by government came on board. And we are glad that that has materialized. A lot of youth have been employed. Now, we have done what we call functional review of ministries, departments, and agencies. And some of us will be seeing that where you go and see Director Admin, now you go and see Director Human Resources. You see Director Planning. You see Director Research and Statistics. So these are all part of the reforms that have been taking place to restructure the ministries so that they will be able to address the present challenges and provide service as the new changes are evolving over time. We have done what we call filling a tap of the reforms that we have been doing over time. And you know, the more changes or as reforms are coming on board, they are coming with their own problems and challenges. A lot of us have turned onto IT in terms of generating data, providing information. And by the other side, there are people that are trying to hack and obtain information on our finances, on our data. That has given birth to financial intelligence services working, departments working, financial intelligence unit coming or being created to address some of these challenges. On the next slide, please. The Bureau of Public Service Reforms is a member. The Bureau of Public Service Reform is a member and secretariat on the committee set up by government to rebrand the public service. Government has intended to rebrand the public service so that we'll have a one structure, one color, and one vision. So that you go to a ministry, you see that the mission, the vision is almost the same. It's only that the mandates are different. So the approach to how we get that is different. We have done quite a lot on this, and we are hoping that the final validation of the report will be done in the next 1 month. Please go back. We are a member of the Policy and Innovation Unit of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group. That makes us members of the think tank of NESG. And whatever they are coming up in terms of policy and activities, Bureau of Public Service Reforms is part of it. We are member secretariat Presidential Committee on Rationalization of Ministries, Departments, and Agencies of Government. We are member Technical Committee on National Seats Council of Nigeria. Somebody will ask why. We have seen that because of global changes, because of environmental changes and problems farmers are facing in terms of low yields of production, we discovered and identified that Nigeria must have a seed bank. And the seed bank must be populated with seeds that have been improved. So that while you have flood in Jigawa State mid-rainy season, we have enough seedlings in the seed bank that can be distributed to the farmers, and they will still be able to harvest something at the end of the season. We are also member technical committee on implementation of the federal government e-government master plan. We are members steering committee on OGP in Nigeria. We are member steering committee on anti-corruption in Nigeria. On the next slide. We have taken the move to address some of the problems some of you have noted. The poor relationship between chief executives and board members, or between board members and chief executives of agencies of government. You are in the know that some boards were dissolved, some chief executives were removed because of these differences. So we introduced what we call induction program for chief executives and newly appointed board members. You will know that most of these people appointed as board members have never worked in the public service. So they come in with little or no experience on public service process, procedures, and how to even give approvals. We got the approval of the president to introduce this induction program, which has been institutionalized. Every chief executive that is coming or board member must pass through that induction program. You'll be seeing as we go further, we have produced what we call corporate governance manual to guide the operation of these agencies by the chief executives and the board members. We have also succeeded in conducting the induction program on some of these agencies. We are currently in the process of inducting 10 other agencies. I know some of you will be covering the event when it commences. These are some of the pictures that we snapped during the previous induction programs. On the next slide, please. The citizen access service directly from agencies of government, not ministries. Ministries develop policies and programs, but parastatals or agencies implement those programs. Based on that, and looking at the poor response and the comments that we get from citizens, we develop what we call a self-assessment tool, which is an IT-based tool that we use to check the strength with solutions, not only to give to the agencies, but we help them to address the challenges and the problems. Government has approved and directed that this tool be implemented in all ministries, departments, and agencies of government. We have done quite a number, and we are doing more. In the next 1 or 2 weeks, some of the results will be released, and we hope you will be there to cover that event. The hope and the spirit behind this is not to shame and disgrace, but as insiders to identify what are their problems and how government can address those problems. Going further, it gives government the opportunity to know what is happening in these agencies of government. On the next slide, please. To guide the process, we have produced what we call How to Manage and Reform Agencies and Parastatals of Government. These are some of the agencies that we have deployed self-assessment to. Currently, a team of BPSR is doing it somewhere else. On the next slide. To hold chief executives again responsible to answer their parents' needs, we introduce what we call lunchtime seminar series, where we invite heads of agencies of government to come and talk to Nigerians, talk to public servants on their mandates and the work they have been doing. We have been doing this over a very long time. At the end of every 3 years, we publish the papers presented with our comments and government's views and advice on their activities. These are some of the agencies that we have done. And in the process, we have generated a lot of data and statistics that is helping government to take decisions that concerns the mandate and what is expected out of the agencies that have come. On the next slide. I have told you that one of our mandates is to do monitoring and evaluation. We have developed a framework for doing that. At the end of every 3 years, we produce what we call Compendium of Public Service Reforms. It is a one-stop shop where you can get information on all reform initiatives at the federal level, either done by us or other agencies of government. We are currently producing 2018 2021 compendium, and we hope the president will be in position to launch that in the next 3 weeks, God's willing. The soft copy of this is on our website, and we'll be showing some of this as we proceed. On the next slide. Something happened in 2015 where a lot of people thought there would be crisis and there will be an end, that may be the end of Nigeria. And we saw a ruling party losing election to an opposition party. And we thought, as a research agency of government, we need to celebrate that transition that became peaceful, and we are still at peace in this country. So to celebrate that, we produced this book that we call Lessons from Elections in Nigeria, 2019-23 to 2015. But the emphasis is all on what we did around 2015 elections and what we hope will happen in the next elections. On the next slide. We are a research agency of government. Part of the work that we do, we publish them as books, we share them to research institutions, and we forward them to Federal Executive Council and government to tidy up on some of the things that we are doing. You are aware that government is just introducing performance management on the system. To guide that transition, the Bureau has produced what we call Handbook for Performance Management in Federal Public Service. Part of the new innovations and reforms on the service is succession planning. We have also produced a guide there to guide staff of ministries, departments, and agencies of government to understand what is succession planning and to have it domesticated in their ministries, departments, and agencies of government. Most of the work we do, we publish them in books, and we also have policy briefs that we produce. On the next slide, please. These are some of the work that we have done. Next slide. On the next slide. Next slide. Please go back. Just the way we celebrated public servants for handling the 2015 elections, please go back. We celebrated the public servants and the healthcare industry that helped Nigeria fight Ebola. The whole world turned its back on Nigeria and were able to fight Ebola to a standstill. To celebrate that, we produced this book, How Nigeria Contained Ebola, and lessons to be learned from managing that. And we are glad to see and note that Nigeria used some of those tactics to manage COVID-19 in Nigeria. The next slide, please. Okay. We have developed what we call scorecard for ranking of websites of ministries, departments, and agencies of government. The essence of that is to reduce the man-to-man contact between us and the citizens, to give the citizens the opportunity to transact business with government agencies without coming to us, to reduce the various problems that people face or they pass through in accessing services by MDs, where you go to a website, you think it's a genuine website, but under the table is something else. We have developed a criteria. We have developed a format where all agencies of government are expected to maintain and have a one color, one shape, one structure website. And we call it scorecard for ranking websites of ministries, departments, and agencies of government. Working with the private sector, civil society groups, Google and Microsoft, the Bureau of Public Service Reforms under the SGF has been driving this initiative. We have seen a lot of improvement in the structure and the information ministries, departments, and agencies provide on their websites. We have seen a lot of interest being generated on this activity, especially from the response that we receive from our customers who are the citizens of this country. We have developed this. Annually, we produce the results and the guidelines. We have concluded 2021-2022. In the next 1 month, the results will be published, and some of you will be invited to cover that activity. Apart from the criteria that we have developed for ranking of websites, we do 2-day capacity building for web managers, web administrators in all ministries, departments, and agencies of government, so that where we have noticed poor capacity or inability to do what is supposed to be done, we do this working with Galaxy Backbone, NITDA, Nigeria Computer Association, NERA, Google, and Microsoft. This is one of the sessions that took place last year. On the next slide. Something has happened dramatic that nobody seems to be talking about it. But the Bureau, as an agency of government that has the responsibility to implement reforms and ensure that reform initiatives are implemented in every ministry, department, agency of government, took note of the contributions of this government. Since the passing of the National Health Act 2014, no government had contributed a kobo into the account. President Mohamed Buhari did that. And we noticed that because of COVID, there is that need for government, especially in the states, to access these funds, but the access was not encouraging. So working with World Bank and WHO, Bill and Melinda Gates, Microsoft, and Health Reform Initiative in Nigeria, we came up with this idea for a conference to be chaired, monitored, and managed by the president himself to see how we can address the challenges this basic healthcare provision fund is experiencing, and to make sure that at the top, government is able to encourage all the states to assess the funds that are lying in central bank so that the condition of the basic healthcare facilities in the country will be improved and Nigerians will access those facilities. So we are waiting for the president's date. We have concluded all arrangements for the program to take place, and we hope we will be there when the program is coming on board. On the next slide. In line with the president's directive, we have been working very hard to see that other state governments join this crusade of reforming their public services. The president is of the opinion that only Abuja and federal public service is not up to 1% of the population of Nigerians. Greater percentage of Nigerians are in the states. So if we are able to duplicate or replicate the reforms that we have started at the federal level in the states, citizens will be able to access a better quality service from ministries, departments, and agencies of government. We have succeeded in getting Lagos state government to transform and set up an agency like Bureau of Public Service Reforms, which is called the Down Commission. And we're working with the Down Commission to get all the states and the southwestern states to establish their own bureaus of public service reforms. Kaduna State have set up their own Bureau of Public Service Reforms. Gombe State have set up their bureaus of public service reforms. And we're hoping that other states will join us before the end of this year, because we've been telling the governors this is a legacy they will leave behind, and posterity will be fair to them for initiating this in their states. On the next slide. This was our visit to Gombe State when the governor instructed the creation of Bureau of Public Service Reforms in the state. Citizens have become the center of governance by the OGP commitment that Nigeria have committed itself to, and the president has personally committed himself to it. BPSR, we said somewhere, is a member of steering committee of OGP in Nigeria. So we have developed a framework for citizens' engagement with ministries, departments, and agencies of government. Beyond the federal level, we are going to the states to validate the framework and to sensitize the citizens in the states and the civil society groups of the need for them to understand that they have this provision and they have that right to demand for quality service and to ask questions why they are not getting the best from their government. We are doing quite a lot with the OGP secretariat, civil society groups from within and outside this country. On the next slide. We are into partnership with quite a number of development partners, civil society groups, who are helping us to deliver on some of our initiatives. This is to celebrate them and thank them for having confidence in Nigeria and working with us. On the next slide. These are some pictures of our activities. Go back, please. The first one was the signing of MOU with the EU to do the work that we did around the management of data in Nigeria. The second one is the head of service, former head of service, and the current SGF when we did the first induction program for board members. The third one is signing of MOU between us and DFID that are called FCDO now. And the last one here was one of the launching of the results of scorecard on websites of ministries, departments, and agencies. In the picture are the representatives of NITDA, Civil Society Group, Ease of Doing Business, Office of the Vice President. On the next slide, please. This is, again, our relationship with other stakeholders within the public service to get them involved in the work we are doing and to get them to understand why we're existing, why they need to give us the space to work with them in ensuring that reforms are implemented. On the next slide. These are all part of our engagements with. We have tried to build a relationship between the executive and the legislature. A chapter in the National Strategy of Public Service Reforms is addressing that. And at inauguration, we paid a visit to the National Assembly where we met the Speaker and the Senate President. And one of the things we requested them to do was ensuring that we change the budget calendar to become January to December, which they have succeeded in doing, to improve the relationship between legislature and executive, and to work with them to give backing to some of the reform initiatives of government and activities of government. On the next slide, please. We had done some work on an agency of Ministry of Power that is called NEMCO, where we deployed the self-assessment tool there. And after that, working with them and a group of development partners, we have developed all the tools that NEMCO is looking for to make it one of the best institutions we have in Nigeria, and one of the building blocks that will take Nigerian public service to be among the first 20 by the year 2025. That picture was the day we handed over the report to the Minister of Power. We are working with JZI, a German development partner. That was one of our engagements. We have been working with quite a number of high commissions to get them to understand the work we are doing and to see how we can borrow anything if they have that is better than ours. That was our visit to the High Commission, Indian High Commission. After this, we invited him to the event where the minister appeared as our guest during the lunchtime seminar, and the ambassador or High Commissioner said that most of the things happening in Nigeria are not happening in India. They has written officially, and they want to come and study Nigeria to see some of the things that we are doing, especially around public financial management. On the next slide. This was our visit to NTA. We have also deployed self-assessment tool, as I've indicated earlier, in Nigeria Investment Promotion Council. That was the day we handed over the results to the chief executive. On the next slide. We have done the self-assessment tool on Federal Inland Revenue, Federal Road Safety Co. We have improved their management position by using IT and digitalizing their processes. This was one of the pictures snapped during the exit interaction at the end of our work with them. On the next slide. The first picture was the first program we had on seeds in Nigeria. Next slide. We had done some work, as indicated, on police reforms, getting the service to be improved. The picture there was when we handed over the results to the Inspector General of Police. The second one was when we went for field survey in Maiduguri. That is the Deputy Commissioner of Police in Borno State. I'm the one sitting there with one of our colleagues. The third picture was a program we arranged between UK government, FCDO, then DFID, and Nigerian government. On the next slide. As we said, we are members of the steering committee on OGP and FOI. The picture there we snapped when the head of OGP International came on a visit to Nigeria. Again, the picture there is the Indian High Commissioner and the Director of General Budget when we did the lunchtime seminar on public financial management reforms. The next slide. This was the award our agency won from FCTA for the reform initiatives that we are driving in collaboration with the Reform and Service Improvement Department in FCTA. On the next slide. We have signed a memorandum of understanding between us and ACCA International. ACCA is Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, United Kingdom, worldwide. That is when the president of the association came to Nigeria on a visit to the secretary to the government of the federation. Please go back. The second picture there was a meeting we had with the ACCA group and World Bank to see how we can work with other agencies of government to improve the skills of public servants, especially finance or accountants, in managing resources of government. On the next slide. Yes. Now, these are some of the reform initiatives that have taken place either in collaboration with Bureau of Public Service Reforms or singly handled by other agencies of government. But as I said, because we're at the center. Whatever you are doing in BPSR must be part of it. At the initial stage and take-off stage will be there. And these are some of these reform initiatives. The Presidential Initiative on Continuous Audit, Development of Performance Management Tool, PACA, TSA coverage enforcement in all ministries, departments, and agencies of government, deployment of IPPIS in all ministries, departments, and agencies of government, except those that refuse to join, creation of asset tracking and management projects, creation of efficiency unit in all ministries, departments, and agencies of government to reduce cost of governance, the finance bill, reorganization of ministries, budget calendar, creation of delivery units to monitor implementation of projects approved by the Federal Executive Council. On the next slide, please. The presidential orders that have been passed, 1 to 10 currently, which are all aimed at institutionalizing some of the work that we are doing and fast-tracking the work that we have done. The next slide. Next slide. We have succeeded in setting the pace for automation of Federal Civil Service Commission. It is our hope that at the end of the year, when the full implementation of performance management and the HR leg of the IPPIS is done, we'll be able to do our recruitment 100% digitally. Possibly our examinations for candidates will be done electronically, just the way JAM is doing. On the next slide. There is a strategy that Head of Service is driving, which is under the Pillar 4 of the National Strategy of Public Service Reforms, which is called the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan, 2017 to 2025. It is focused around what we've been trying to do. Number one, to improve the capacity of government workers so that they will be able to deliver the wonderful programs of government, to upskill and reskill them. COVID-19 has come to show us that it is never the same and it cannot be the same. So we have to be agile, we have to be ready for change. That cannot happen without training. Along this line, we introduced LEAP and SMART-P, capacity development programs for ministries, departments, and agencies of government, succession planning and mentorship. I know you have had situations where a director will retire and they will ask him to come and work for 2-3 months because there is nobody to take over his place. With the introduction of succession planning and mentorship, that problem has been addressed. As we are moving, we'll be having people that are ready to take over from us as we exit. On the next slide. Other reforms have taken place around education and the use of IT in our schools, colleges, especially universities, changes and improvement in our curricula, digitalization of educational institutions in the country. On the next slide. IT and digitalization reform is paramount to us because we own it and it's part of what we are doing. Part of what government has done is to create a ministry especially for digital economy, to set the pace for digitalization of our economy. To support that, we have a strategy that is working around that. In addition to that, we have introduced the digitalization of our records in ministries, departments, and agencies of government, where we hope in the next 5 years, our ministries will be paperless in terms of management of our records. We have developed IT tools that have working together with other agencies to have BVN, which has succeeded in fighting corruption and making sure that you address your father's name when you go to a bank. Transparency has been improved with the introduction of BVN. If you are not yourself, you will not go to that account. The Federal Executive Council, we have succeeded in digitalizing it 100%. Quite a number of members of the council attend meetings virtually, and a lot of their decisions and conclusions are electronically transmitted to the ministries and to the office of the of the president. Digitalization is given a priority in our work, in our 2021 to 2025 strategic plan, and we're all aiming at how we can have a digital economy, most importantly to us, have a paperless ministry, department, and agencies of government. On the next slide. Power sector reform is important to us because it's one of the few things that we started as an agency of government. We know there are challenges, there are problems there, but we have succeeded in unbundling NEPA and PHCN. That burden has been taken off government. Private sector have been given the opportunity to participate in that activity. As I said, as you are introducing new changes or reforms, other problems and challenges are coming up, which government, working with us and others, are trying to address those problems. On the next slide. On the next slide. What is the impact of all this work that we have been doing? Or what are the impacts? We're having a one-shop government. Using IT, a lot of aspects of service delivery has been digitalized. They are done at one point, some at the comfort of our offices or in our homes. Monitoring of our work is being done digitally, electronically in all the places. Staff have been motivated. We have improved the quality of service that we deliver to ministries, departments, and to citizens of this country. On the next slide, please. We have reduced cost of governance. We have reduced wasteful expenditure. We have brought government closer to the citizens through implementation of aspirations of the OGP. Before we came on board, as I said, there have been lots of reforms in Nigeria, from 1963 Morgan Commission to AIDA Panel Commission, then Bureau of Public Service Reform Scheme. As I said, all these reforms were looking at one or two aspects, either pay or condition of service. We have adopted what we call a whole of government approach to public service reforms. That means every aspect of governance, service delivery is being reformed or it has been reformed in Nigeria. On the next slide. These are some of the few reforms that have taken place in Nigeria. Power reforms, pension reforms that has addressed virtually all the problems that we used to have on the old pensions. And as I said, financial management, electoral reforms, information technology, and privatization. As I said, some of these reforms have been initiated by us, while others have been initiated by other agencies of government. But in all this, Bureau of Public Service Reforms is part and parcel of it. On the next slide. What are the impacts of some of these reforms? The unbundling of PHCN have succeeded in opening the sector and providing opportunity for the private sector to participate in generation, distribution of power to the citizens. Tax reforms have succeeded in deepening the tax basket that we have, which has been expanded, and it has opened up outlets where government can chip in and get some taxes paid that have not been paid. And we have succeeded in getting Nigeria on the world map of nations that are able to say at the end of every month, this is how much we have generated in terms of tax, which was not available before this time. On the next slide. By signing these MOUs between us, the Office of Secretary to the Government, Head of Service, and other agencies of government, it's an indication that development partners and other nations have confidence in us. They have this belief that we'll be able to deliver, and we've been delivering based on the MOUs that we have signed with them. The reform in the administrative and supervision of capital market has pushed the Nigeria Stock Exchange to be among those agencies that we have identified that will take Nigeria to be among the first 20 public services by the year 2025. The most important thing here is we're able to generate data. Ranking agencies internationally have, before this time, have not been able to gather data on activities of ministries, departments, and agencies of government. But we are seeing now that a lot is being said about Nigeria because there is something to capture. We are not where we are, but we have started, and we are hopeful that we'll improve on this. On the next slide, please. Agriculture, you know, I told you in the previous slides, the work we have done around Seeds Council and the urge that we have done, the things that we have done to get government to have a seeds bank, beyond that to have indigenous companies producing seeds in this country. And we are glad to say that in every region of Nigeria, there are Nigerian companies owned by Nigerians producing seeds for this country. On the next slide. These are some of the benefits that we think government or Nigerians have benefited out of the work that we have been doing in collaboration with other agencies of government. With the introduction of IPPIs, about 70,000 ghost workers have been eliminated from the payroll. We have a one-shop opportunity to look at IPPIs and say, as of today, we have 720,000 public servants working for Nigeria. This is a great achievement which I think we need to anchor, and we need to get it celebrated by all of us. We've been able to reduce more than 220 billion naira wastage through wrong management of IPPIs and payroll by ministries, departments, and agencies of government. We have reduced the budget deficit and changed the budget composition. We have succeeded in getting the Treasury single account deployed in all ministries, departments, and agencies of government. Challenges have come in that implementation at the initial stage, but we are overcoming that. And government is able to save over 10 trillion naira over the years, because whatever you are generating now goes into a Treasury single account that is managed by somebody else, not you. And government, especially at the top, is always able to see what has come into our Treasury single account today and what has gone out of that. So planning has been simplified, budgeting has been simplified, distribution and allocation of resources have been simplified and streamlined. GIFMIs have succeeded in making us paperless, and it has reduced man-to-man contact in processing payments in ministries, departments, and agencies of government. Transparency has been improved. A lot of things are done even outside the office. But the most important thing is the ability given to central agencies, Office of Accountant General of the Federation, and the Ministry of Finance to see what is happening in all ministries, departments, and agencies of government, because GIFMIS is not controlled by the agencies, it's controlled by the central agencies. But every activity you are doing under GIFMIS, somebody is watching you and is monitoring that activity. This is a great achievement for us and for all of you and for all Nigerians. There is better access to information on finances in this country. Whatever you do, somebody is watching you, and somebody can request and get those information. International rating agencies, Standards and Poor and others, have more confidence in Nigeria now because they have access to information and data that they were not able to get before this time. On the next slide, please. Because of time, I've seen my host is looking at his time. Again, this is a breakdown of some of the benefits of the reforms that we've been driving. We'll be sharing this soft copies of this for you to go through. On the next slide. On the next slide. Please go back. Now, COVID-19 has come to show us, as I said, that we have to be ready for another change. That one came. We have to commend the government for being able to keep the machinery of government running during the lockdown. And along that, a lot of reforms have taken place around use of IT to simplify processes of accessing services, our documentation processes, to improve transparency and other things. But the most important thing that it has shown us is we have to upskill and reskill. We have to get the public service to be trained to get to that level where they will provide 21st century public service to the citizens of this country. On the next slide. Now, these are some of the things we are looking at post-COVID-19 public service reforms in Nigeria. On the next slide. In conclusion, I want to tell you that the essence of reforms that we have been driving over the years is to make sure that government workers put the citizens at the center of governance. The citizens are ahead of us, Nigerians are ahead of us, and we have driven a process of transformation to improve access to government services, to improve the quality of life of citizens of this country, to improve transparency, and give the citizens the opportunity to participate in governance. We have just started. If you compare us with the United Kingdom, we'll be far away. But if you compare us with other countries in Africa and the Asia that we've started, I think we have done quite a lot. We have set in a foundation for transformation that will change the fortunes of this country. We have not been able to do this without the support of the central government, the president, and other agencies of government that have been supporting us to drive this, the media and the civil society groups. We urge you to continue to support us directly or indirectly to ensure that we succeed in transforming Nigerian public service and to make sure that by the year 2025, we will be among the first 20 public services in the world. On the next slide, please. Can you play the video? Thank you. On the next slide, please. Now, we please request you to follow us on our social media handles, to engage with us, guide us, and ask us any question or explanation that you want, and to please visit our website at www.bpsr.gov.ng. If possible, daily, please visit us. Thank you. Beyond this, we have some pictures, if we have time and opportunity, of the various events and engagements that we've been involved in over the time. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
That's okay. That's good. That's okay. There's none there. There's none there. Let's take one. Take one. Thank you very much, Director General, Bureau for Public Service Reforms. For the summary of everything that has been achieved and also the strides that have been made at the Bureau. At this point, I would like us to take questions. So if you have questions, please raise your hands. I'll start from the back today. Adesua, Anthony Almen. Any other hand up, please? Okay. Gloria. We'll take this first four and then we'll take the next set. Start with Adesua. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, and well done for the job you do. I'm Adesu. I work with Arise News. During the course of your presentation, you mentioned the IPPIS a couple of times, but some would say that perhaps the recent fraud allegation made against the Accountant General of the Federation, an 80 billion naira, will vindicate the university lecturers and others who have said the IPPIS is fraught and is a conduit for corruption and leakages. So I want to ask you, because you also said you have succeeded in fighting corruption, would you still say that you've been able to do that? Or would you say that not enough is in place to discourage and checkmate corrupt practices in the Nigerian public service? Secondly, I would like to ask you, I want to know the situation with the government directive for federal civil servants to be vaccinated against COVID-19, if you don't mind. Thank you. To get vaccinated against the coronavirus, that directive, where are we? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My name is Tony Ailem, and I write for Business Day. Sir, I must also commend you for your achievements. The one issue that has been recurring over the years has to do with the issue of reforms in government-owned institutions. Government has been trying from a Rosanye committee. The committee issue has not seen the light of day. The last we heard was SGF and the head of service were asked to go and look at the possibility of revisiting that particular report and then seeing how government can reduce some of the institutions, especially those that are either having overlapping functions and all that. Today we want to know, sir, you made mention of some part of it as you were speaking, but we want you to give us where we are and why that report has not been fully implemented. And I also want you to please speak to the issue of cost reduction, wastages. How much have you saved this federal government from what you are doing, sir? Thank you. Okay.
All right, good morning, sir. Good morning, all. My name is Ondunai. I report for Silverbird Television. So my colleague touched a bit on the first question I was hoping to ask, but I'll just add this to it. I know that there are persons who work perhaps in the armed forces, civilians who work in the armed forces, who have complained about issues with the IPIS. They have complained repeatedly about indiscriminate deduction of their salaries and all of that. And I've heard several other frustration as regards the IPPIS as well. Now, away from that, what is your agency doing in respect to the huge pay gap between government agencies? I'll give an example. If you have a public servant working in NCC, for instance, or NNPC as we know it, they seem to be made. I mean, and that's not the same for somebody working with the Code of Conduct Tribunal, for instance. And then my last question, what are you doing to enhance competition within the civil service as it is? Because I know of an individual who was moved from one of the big ministries here in Abuja to the Code of Conduct Tribunal specifically, and this person stopped going to work altogether. And in an interaction, what this individual revealed was that, I mean, there's basically nothing to do, you know, and all of that. So these are some of the issues. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I want to start with the last question. Every agency of government that is created to serve a purpose. They have a mandate, they have a vision, and for anybody to say there is nothing doing there, or there is nothing for him to do, possibly he doesn't want to make himself relevant. And it's part of the things that we're driving to do a lot of cultural reorientation, to get people to understand why they must deliver service, regardless of the condition they find themselves in their ministry, department, or agency of government. If he says there is no work, I know there is work. But I want to assure you that government is doing quite a lot to improve the conditions of our offices and to make sure that there is hand-holding in the course of delivering service. That means to institutionalize succession planning, mentorship, and performance management. If this claim is true, with the introduction of performance management, which will come into effect by beginning of next year, your promotions and everything will be done based on your performance. So even if there's no work, I know we'll struggle to look for work so that we justify our existence in the ministry. Deductions and complaints around IPPIS, you know we have just started. From the pilot ministries 6, we went to 10. Then because of the push by the international community, especially development partners, who are really eager to get Nigeria at that level, at par with other nations we went through. I remember I'm privileged to be part of the team that started the discussion around IPPIS. And we were able to get different sectors of the public service to come and have meetings and discussions with us to understand their various cadre within their field, their pay structure, their responsibilities, and all this have been taken care of. Along the line, there are some new creations, and I think there are some omissions, which government is addressing. But you cannot, I will not take this man's complaint that there are deductions like that. It cannot be arbitrary. For every deduction that is done, there is justification for that. And if there are problems, they are identified and complaints are made, that will be rectified. And quite a number of our colleagues somewhere have taken a lot of loans, they have committed themselves. Deductions are being made left, right, and center. So I want to assure you and the person that complained to you that government is addressing some of these problems. The pay gap between parastatals and ministries of government is looking at that. There is a committee chaired by the head of service that is looking at pay difference between the agencies, the parastatals and the main ministry. And you have seen that part of our allowances have been increased, and government is doing something around that. My brother from Business Day, thank you for the Public Servant of the Year award given to me. Reforms in government institutions are not implemented. Well, people can decide not to do what government is doing. With the things that are coming on ground now, you either accept and do it, or you fall by the way. When we started IPPIS, there were pilot ministries, some were running away from it. Now it has covered the entire, so whether you like it or you don't like it, you must do it. We are introducing performance management, succession planning, and mentorship. You don't have any option than to do it, because the appraisal, the promotion of your officers will be done electronically, based on your standard operating procedures and the KPIs. So we don't have any option than to follow these wonderful reform initiatives to cover the boys and girls that are working with us. Orosa in your white paper, government has been working around that, as I told you, where the secretariat, when you said head of service, not the head of service did anything or anybody. You are aware that it was not implemented in good time, and over the years there have been changes. more agencies and commissions were created, which makes it necessary for government to look back and say, okay, between Orosanye white paper and today, how many more agencies have been created? So that was why those committees were created. But beyond that, I want to tell you that some silent aspects of the report are being implemented silently. We are hoping that very soon we'll conclude on that and the major activity will come. So just wait for the announcement from the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, who is the chairman of the implementation committee of the white paper. IPPIS and corruption, as I said, 10 years, 15 years ago, nobody cares about cybersecurity. Nobody cared about online fraud. Nobody cared about who will go to my account and touch my money. But now you become careless with your handset, one young boy will just transfer all your salary out. So as innovations are coming on board, people are looking for other ways to do what they think they need to do to satisfy their personal gains. I don't know whether that corruption is linked to IPPIS or to something else. IPPIS is a platform for payment of salaries and for management of data of the public servants. It's not a platform for payment of contracts and other things. So I think IPPIS is quite away from the ongoing case and investigation that is being carried out. Let's wait for EFCC to come up with their full report so that we know where the thing has happened. Vaccination, the law still stands. In most agencies, we are compelling people to go for COVID-19 vaccination. And we use this forum to encourage all public servants and all Nigerians to get vaccinated, to take care of themselves, to safeguard themselves and their families and the citizens of this country. I think I've done justice to all this. The next question is cost of governance. We are doing quite a lot in terms of reforms to avoid duplication, streamline our processes, use IT to change the structure of delivering service. As a result of that, quite a number of expenditure heads are almost getting nil because you will not be doing anything around that. So by the time we fully implement the e-government master plan, we'll further reduce cost of governance. And I don't have the figures, but I know we have reduced quite a lot. In my agency, I know we have reduced quite a lot, and in other agencies of government, quite a lot have been reduced. Thank you.
We'll take the next set of questions. Yemi? Gloria, once again. Okay, you. At the end, yeah, you. And that's 3, and then we'll have 2 online questions. When they're done with the questions, I'll take the ones from our online audience. I'll start with Yemi.
Thank you.
My name is Yemi Adebayo from AIT. My first question is, how does the BPSR get feedback from ministries, departments, and agencies? How do your bureau get feedback? How do you get your feedbacks from the various ministries, departments, and agencies? My second question is that one of the legacies you promised to leave behind when you joined the bureau in 2008 is that you want the national strategy for public service reforms to be implemented. How far have you gone with this?
Yeah, I'm Muyitin Olani. I write for Daily Trust newspaper. Now that we have embraced e-government, is there any possibility that some civil servants may lose their jobs as a result of this?
Good morning. My name is Gloria Omezuke from Channels TV. I just wanted to build on the question my colleague asked earlier because I wasn't quite satisfied with how corruption is being addressed with the Public Bureau Public Service Reforms Strategy 2019 to 2021. How is it really addressing the issue of corruption within the system? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, sir. I'll now take the two questions from our online audience here. And the first one says, sir, what is your agency doing about the harmonization of the degree HND, I guess HND BSc dichotomy in government MDAs? Has the dichotomy been addressed in all government agencies? And then the other one says, kindly educate us if there are periodic performance evaluation on all reforms embarked on by the Bureau.
Thank you very much. As I said in my presentation, we have an M&E system for monitoring and evaluating the reforms that we have started. And we produce the results of this evaluation after every 3 years. So we monitor and we evaluate that. In addition to this, and in respect to the other question, our relationship with the MDAs, that is why we do perception surveys and impact assessments. We have some of the results here of the impact assessments and perception surveys, which we deploy on the citizens and the public servants or civil servants that are delivering those services. That is the customer and the service provider. AIT, that I think is one of the ways that we take to get feedbacks on our reform initiatives. And as I told you, we have a National Council of Reforms and the Steering Committee on Reforms that is working with us to do that. NSPSR implementation, if you look through my presentation, I told you we have digitalized public financial management 100%. That means we have implemented Pillar 3 of NSPSR 110% if we have anything like that. Pillar 2 and 3, Pillar 1 especially, anti-corruption, we have gotten government to strengthen the anti-corruption agencies, and fight for corruption has increased, and use of IT has revolutionized the way we fight corruption. So Pillar 1, we are almost there. Pillar 2, we have succeeded in getting government to produce the ERGP document, which came to an end last year, and the same backbone was used to produce current national development plan. We have seen the transformation in ministries, departments, and agencies, and the various innovations that we said should come in place. Based on this, I think 80% of NSPSR have been implemented. And that is why we seek the approval of the President, which we got, to review the NSPSR and capture new aspirations and set new targets that will push us to be the first, among the first 20 services by the year 2025. E-government is not going to lead to loss of jobs. If you are serious, you are keen, more opportunities will be open for us to work, because as one door closes, another one is opening. I remember those of us that are around when Omotech computers were given to us, and we started talking about IT. A lot of people said secretaries will lose their jobs, but what we did was secretaries that could be upgraded were trained as data officers, and they move in from secretaries to data officers. So IT is not going to create loss of jobs. More jobs, more opportunities will be created. If you look at the IT forum in Nigeria, before we didn't have NIDA. With the coming of IT and the e-government plan, NIDA was created, and it's even been expanded. Galaxy backbone was there. It was taken over by government and expanded. So an ecosystem is always being develop around IT within and outside the public service. Gloria, I pick your question. We are trying our best. Bureau of Public Service is not an anti-corruption agency, but an agency of government saddled with the responsibility to initiate ways of fighting corruption and opening government and improving the quality of public service. And as I said, one of the things that we're doing is digitalization, which is aimed at improving transparency and opening government. And you will be, I don't know whether you agree with me, that with a lot of these reforms, financial activities of ministries, departments, and agencies of government are no longer within the scope or purview of only the ministry. Whatever you are doing, somebody else is watching you, is monitoring you. So I think we are moving quite fast. We are not where we should be, but I am confident that with the plans, the strategies we have in place, we will be where we are. And as my principals have been saying, the fight for corruption should not be just for government and government agencies, but all citizens are supposed to work with government to support us fight corruption and improve, most especially, and what is of interest to me, the quality of service we render to you and other citizens of this country. Thank you. Any other question? Okay. Now, thank you very much for the questions. Before we close, most of the research work and the documents that we posted here are here for us to display to you. We have some of them on our website, but because of the size of the work we are doing, we cannot have the soft copies on our websites. But we have come with some of them to show you, and some of them to distribute to those of you that are here with us. Can you start, Mr. Ali? Can you stand up, please? Yes, stand up, please. Yes. Now, the first one he has shown you is the publication. Can somebody help him, please? Yes, the first one is the publication on elections, 2015 election. Yes, next, please move on quickly. The next one is how to manage reforms in ministries, departments, and agencies of government. Oh, I should be showing it. I wouldn't mind standing there. I can stand here. Oh, okay. 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 I can stay here or here. Here? Okay. Okay. Now, this is the publication, How to Manage and Reform Agencies and Parastatals of Government, that is guiding the self-assessment tool that we are using to assess the performance of ministries, departments, and agencies of government. This is our publication on the 2015 elections, lessons learned, and how we can do it better. This is the rapid institutional assessment of the National Human Rights Commission, some of the institutional assessments that we say we did. This is another institutional assessment, mapping the process of obtaining bail, Nigeria Police. This is the policy brief that we submitted on Police Service Commission after the institutional assessment. This is 2017-2019 publication on lunchtime seminar series. This is the corporate governance manual that we produced to guide the relationship between chief executives and board members of agencies of government. This is perception survey on investment constraints in Nigeria. This is handbook on performance management and the Federal Public Service. This is succession planning hand tool for ministries, departments, and agencies of government. This is experts roundtable on the reform of Federal Special Anti-Corruption Squad, end SARS. And for your information, we did this work long before the NSAS strike. This is one of the work that we did for Nigeria Communications Commission. After deploying self-assessment tool, we worked with them to produce their human resource management handbook. This is the survey we did on government reforms in transport sector in Nigeria. My friend from AIT and Daily Trust, these are some of the things that we do to get the feedback from the ministries and from the citizens on our reform initiatives. This is perception survey on government reforms in education sector in Nigeria. This is review of the presidential executive orders. This is a policy brief and recommendation to government on how to improve the implementation of freedom of information in ministries, departments, and agencies of government. This is citizens report card, my friend from AIT. This is citizens report card on Nigeria Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP. We did this at the end of the program. This is one of the reports of self-assessment tool that we deployed in NEMCO. Compendium. Oh, okay. I've been told that because of time I have to stop here, but we have quite more than this to show. Any? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the chairman of the State House media team and the special advisor to the president on media, Mr. Femi Adesina, I want to thank Dr. Dasuki Ibrahim Arabi, the DG of BPSR, for coming with his team to enlighten us on what is going on in his agency. We thank you very much for coming, sir. Along with him came Mrs. Grace Okani Didi, the director RC. Which one is that? She's there. Okay, thank you for coming, madam. Emmanuel Achoda, head of internal audit. Abba Abduramin, TA to the DG. Awojobi Juliet, Motunrayo, okay, DFE, Philomena Okoreje, head of corporate service, Aliyu Umar Aliyu, head of strategic communication, Yakubu Isa Mohammed, and Imaha Anogena Moses. Thank you all for coming to be to give us such wonderful information and insight into what your agency is doing to make our civil service and even more better. I also want to thank all the members of the State House media team. Where is I saw Biodun now, and most of us are outside, have traveled with the president. So those of you who are here, thank you for coming. And for those of you that are here from different media houses, we want to thank you very much for being here with us this morning. And we ask that you please, as usual, report exactly what you have heard today. Thank you, and God bless you all.
On behalf of the management and staff of Bureau of Public Service Reforms, 2004 to date, that we call the Reformer magazine. This is the latest magazine, and I'm handing over 3 copies of this to the committee. Indirectly, Madam is launching this magazine. In addition to this, we have some of our publications that will be handing over to Madam. Any one of you that is interested, we may pick copies from them. One of them is, again, I'm really proud of this work, how we introduce IPPIS in the public service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please come and take them.